Welcome everyone, and thank you for watching this episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Today, we explore another disappearance of a 19-year-old Aidan Clune from Sonoma, California. The similarities between the disappearances of Aidan Clune and Dylan Rounds are enough to make one raise an eyebrow. An innocent teenager with no criminal record seems to just disappear in the middle of his road trip. While it is unlikely the two cases are related, there is a shock factor behind the fact that the two disappearances occurred just a month apart and less than 90 miles away from each other. As Aidan's mother describes the days before his disappearance, it becomes obvious that something is very wrong.
Aidan was fine before he went to Washington. And then when he got back, he started taking circumstances and turning them into these more nefarious situations in his mind. So then I actually called his doctor and I said, Aidan, there's something wrong. Please call him in. Please do something. He's not okay. You need to help him. And they said the same thing. If he doesn't come in for help on his own, we can't do anything. So I finally got in contact with some nonprofit things. I was calling everywhere in Santa Rosa. I finally found this one with a sliding scale and a really nice guy. I said, Aidan, will you please go into counseling? I found this guy for you. You can do it. It's not a problem. And he said yes. And then he was sitting on his phone and suddenly this very alarmed look came over his face. And he said, Mom, I got to go stay somewhere else for a few days. I got to go.
Aidan immediately began packing a bag, got in his truck, and left. Unfortunately for Amy, Aidan's mother, she had no idea that this would be the last time she saw her son. As Aidan attempted to relocate to an environment where he felt safe, he wound up sleeping in his truck outside of a park.
And then sometime around mid-morning, he finally called me and he says, I haven't heard from you. I said, Aidan, you blocked me. He's like, oh, okay. I said, Aidan, are you coming home now? And where did you stay last night? He said, I stayed in my truck across from this park. And I was like, why did you do that? And he said, I just decided, I feel like everybody's kicking me out of Sonoma. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm not kicking you out of Sonoma. Come home. And he says, I can't do that. Then it was later, I think it was around noon, he calls me and he says, I'm going to go to Grandma's in Salt Lake City, Grandma Debbie. Then there were some calls from Debbie and all of this, a lot of calls going on. And they were going to get him they have a brand new travel trailer. They were going to set it up for him with sewage and electricity. And it was like he's going to have his own place, which he's desperately wanted. Debbie wanted to see her grandson. She was very happy. Her husband, Mike, was very happy. They were all excited. Everybody sounded really happy about it. But then he starts asking me paranoid stuff about locks. How does that trailer lock? I said, it locks just like a front door. You can lock yourself in and lock other people out. That's how it locks. Mom, are you sure? And then I said, yes. Then he said, what have you not told me about Debbie and Mike? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I've told you, what do you mean? You know everything about Debbie and Mike, you know them. And I said, come on, honey, don't start doing this. I guess it was a couple hours, or maybe it was an hour and a half. I get a call from Debbie and she says, Aidan tried to kidnap Mike.
As Aidan's paranoia begins to spiral out of control, an incident takes place where Aidan convinces his grandfather Mike to get in his truck and then turns around to take off in the opposite direction. As Aidan realizes Mike has a phone, he tries to take it from him unsuccessfully, slams on the brakes, and tells him to get out of the car. Aidan's mother gets news of this incident and immediately calls local law enforcement of Elko County to inform them that Aidan is in danger and missing. As the investigation turns over to law enforcement, missed opportunities and more questions begin to emerge. At 6:23 a.m. on April 27th, Aidan was seen on surveillance leaving a Motel 6 in Wells, Nevada. I was able to briefly speak to Dan, the attendant at the Motel 6 who checked Aidan in the night of the 26th.
It was dark and it was the right time of year, so it was between 6 and 7 o'clock. Yeah, it was not snowing or anything, it was just cold. I'm sure there was snow on the ground. Yeah, he just came up to the window and he was apprehensive about renting a room because he wasn't 21 years old. He didn't think I would rent a room to him. And I told him to relax. We'll get you in a room, buddy. He was a really nice kid. Yeah, he was very mellow. He was very relaxed. He didn't have any issues that I could tell.
After departing the hotel, Aidan began to head south along US 93. Shortly after 8 a.m., Aidan stops his truck on the shoulder of US 93 and exits his vehicle. Just 50 minutes later at 8:50 a.m., a Nevada Highway Patrol officer finds Aidan's truck on the side of the highway with no one nearby. The officer issues a citation, locks Aidan's truck, and leaves. A witness interviewed by law enforcement states they saw Aidan near his truck carrying a guitar before the officer arrived. The witness also adds that when the officer did arrive, they saw Aidan crouched down behind some bushes as if he were hiding. After the officer leaves, the witness says they observed Aidan running away from his vehicle toward the Cherry Creek Mountains. It takes a full 24 hours for the two law enforcement agencies to convene and learn of their mistake. They realize that the abandoned vehicle belongs to Aidan Clune, and they dispatch officers immediately to begin searching. After they arrive and take a look around, the officers state they were able to locate Aidan's tracks, and it became apparent that Aidan was headed west. This only leaves more questions, as the only things visible to the west of US 93 are mountain peaks. Why did Aidan all of a sudden abandon his vehicle and head up a mountain alone with no hiking or survival gear? With law enforcement only beginning to fan out 24 hours after Aidan disappeared, time was against rescuers. At the base of the mountain Aidan's tracks led to, officers found his abandoned guitar. And following the tracks further towards the mountain, searchers started to notice that Aidan was taking his shoes off before crossing roads and then putting them back on after he crossed. Searchers remain adamant that Aidan's tracks were the only ones to observe, implying he was alone. After uncovering these abnormalities, authorities concluded that Aidan was making very intentional efforts to not be found. As the tracks were followed for over 10 miles up the mountain, the snow and rain eventually eroded any signs left behind by Aidan. The official statement from authorities is that Aidan's tracks were lost in the Cherry Creek Mountains, several miles west of US 93, and that their search efforts had turned into recovery efforts. To this day, Aidan Clune is still missing. If you or anyone you know might have information leading to the discovery of Aidan's location, please use the contact information in the description to contact the Elko County Sheriff's Office. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I'm happy you enjoyed watching. Like and subscribe if you'd like more of this content recommended to you, and make sure to hit the notification bell to be notified when we post our next video. And if you really want to enable our channel to succeed, consider becoming a paid member and becoming the very first to get access to exclusive perks all about unsolved mysteries. See you guys next time, and again, thanks for watching.